This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
Recording is on.
And yeah, get into this exciting penultimate building up to the conclusion of New Spring episode.
See, is that why it's Arthur Pendragon? Because he was the penultimate dragon? He was like the one who was like going to come, the big guy who came right before Rand?
I don't hate that as the headcanon. I don't hate it.
Arthur, because like penultimate, that's such a unique word. And it's one that I didn't learn until I was like, I think not older, but until I was an adult, right? Like it wasn't one of those like foundational words that I had as a kid. It's when I learned when I was older and went, that's a cool word. Because it means the next to last one, but it's a word.
Yeah, it's a neat word.
It's a neat word.
Yeah, I made sure that I was clear on penultimate versus pentultimate, and embarrassingly recently.
I don't know what the second one is. I've never heard.
I don't either. It's just what a lot of people will say, and it's wrong.
It is
penultimate.
It's not a word. Yeah,
it's not pentultimate.
No.
And I did not really like consciously set that distinction in my head until embarrassingly recently.
No, it's not a pentagon. So it's not
exactly.
A pentultimate would be like the biggest pentagon ever. Pentultimate.
Maybe that's what we should call that building where we do all of our war crimes. The Pentagon.
Yeah, the pentultimate.
Yeah,
that's a good one. That's a good one.
So what are we doing today?
We are doing chapters 20, 21, 22, and 23. 4 chapters, which is a little more than last time, but we'll get through it. One of them's pretty short.
Yeah, one of them is pretty short, and there's some sections that are like just walk and talk scenery. It's not even talking. It's just the walking.
It's just the walking, yeah. Do you want to read us into chapter 20 then?
No, because it's Lan.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. You make the opening quote threw me.
Yeah, well, it's Lan. We're starting with Mr. McLan.
So, you know, I've been resting on my laurels this book. You've had to do all the read-ins because it's been all the Moraine stuff.
Yeah, pull your weight around here.
All right. Chapter 20, Breakfast in Manala. And we have the there's a word for that. Triptych, thank you. You may call me Lady Elise, the strange little woman told them when she climbed drowsily from her blankets at sunrise, stifling yawns with a fist. Apparently, she was unused to sleeping on the ground. Lan was certain she had been awake every time he took a turn at guard. People breathed differently, awake and asleep. Well, women who wore silks seldom encountered hardships or discomfort. He doubted the name as much as he did the great serpent ring she produced, especially after she tucked it back into her belt pouch and said no one must know she was Aes Sedai, not even other sisters. True, Aes Sedai often pretended to be ordinary woman and carried it off with those who did not know a sister's face. And true, once he had encountered an Aes Sedai who had not yet attained the ageless look. But one and all, they practiced serenity to a fault. Oh, they got angry, but it was a cold anger. He had seen Elise's face in the moonlight when the water stopped, though he had not realized what he was seeing till later. Childish glee at a played prank and childish disappointment that it had not worked as she wished. Aes Sedai were many things, and convoluted enough with it to make other women seem simple, but they were never childish.
You avoid Aes Sedai so much. How would you know?
It's all prejudice. Aes Sedai are women like anyone else, and they mask a little better because they've got the power, right? But they are just, and especially Moraine, right? Fresh out of her novice thing. Like, she's not in control in the same way that later Moraine is.
Yeah. And it's funny he thinks that she was, tossing and turning because she'd never slept on a hard bed, when we know it's because she has wards on them and the ground is probably softer than the bed she slept on as an accepted.
She's like, oh, my back's sinking into this mud.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's 100%. She was just up watching them all night. It was nothing to do with whether or not she can sleep on the hard ground. He sees her as soft.
Yeah, he has so much prejudice and stereotypes that he can't even register what's actually happening.
And does not believe she's an actual Aes Sedai.
Yeah. Which she's doing a good job at pretending not to be one. She's pulling that off pretty well. She's got haughty lady energy going on, but she is not practiced at making people see her as Aes Sedai. And so she's pulling off don't see me as an Aes Sedai very convincingly.
Yes. I also wonder, I would think as Lady of Cairhienin, she would be able to pull off a little more
She was a child when she went to the White Tower, though.
I know. It's funny that I don't think about that. I think of her as being this Kyrian and Lady Noble for a long time, but it's like, no, she was never.
She was 14 when she left, or 16 or whatever. Like, yeah, she was not practiced at being a Kyrian and lady. She was practiced at being a Kyrian and child of a noble house.
And there is, I'm assuming, some of that, like, House of Thrones.
Yeah, Game of Houses.
Game of Houses, sorry.
It's, you take it in with your mother's milk. They were raised with it at their mother's knee, blah, 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 blah. Like, yes, but yeah, a career of being an adult woman in the Kyrian and noble house political circle, no. She was play acting at that and practicing for it and getting ready for it, and then she pivoted to being an Aes Sedai. So, yeah, she just doesn't have experience living in the world as an adult. She does not have the gravitas. She will have it shortly. She's going to grow up real fast in that regard. But, yeah, she is still fundamentally untested. Well, not untested. I mean, she was literally tested repeatedly. But
Right,
she's
well,
unseasoned.
Right.
So, yeah, Bukama is really mad at Lan for not respecting Lady Alice, and he's mad at Bukama for respecting Lady Alice when she doesn't deserve it because she keeps offering insults upon insults. And it's sort of this other conflict that's grinding his gears while the trip with Alice's actual pranks is going on.
Small error on the cover art. Apparently, in the cover, it shows Bukama still riding Sun Lance, but in the scene, he's riding his new black gelding.
Oh, Daryl K. Sweet. How could you?
So, yeah, small continuity error there on the cover art. Hey, at least he didn't get the main symbol of the series upside down like he did in Path of Daggers.
You know, the bar is in hell. We're learning. Lan has a great thought about Kyrian in general. Over one particularly memorable 10 days in the south of Kyrian, he had almost been killed 6 times and nearly married twice. That's a fun little vignette to just let you know how the Game of Houses can go. Right? I mean, that's kind of what Rand was dealing with, again, in book 2, where, like, all these women are quartering him and talking about their husbands and da-da-da, and, like, you get a sense that Lan had to go through a similar kind of gauntlet and get out with similar shenanigans and hijinks to what Rand had to do.
But I almost feel like you could produce another prequel novel, like in the way that, like, I Threw You in a Pond basically produced this prequel novel. Like
pre-prequel.
Well, pre-prequel, where we're like, oh, let's hear about Lan and the stuff he did and almost got married twice and almost killed 6
Near
times.
to hanging a time or two. This is like a Laris outrigger.
Yeah, there's some lines characters drop that you're like, man, that would be a good backstory. I'd love to see that, but nope. We see some Aes Sedai, like, oh, we're gonna stop and eat now type typical behavior from her when he's like, yeah, of course we're gonna stop and eat. Like, don't tell me what to do when I'm already doing it.
Yeah, but she's also using it as cover for her search for this woman, right? He sees it as just her being all top down and telling them what to do. And really what she's doing is she's making sure that they can get to the next place where she's going to check the name. And, like, everything else is all just smokescreen for that.
Well, I mean, the other thing that she's doing is flirting with Rhys a bunch, right?
Also
and
that.
Yeah, but I think she's watching him, right? This isn't flirting. She thinks he might be a dark friend.
I mean, flirting is a really good way to get someone to lower their guard.
Right,
and to give you more details. Like, I mean, it's a good strategy. You get to play with the boy toy and potentially interview him for being an evil piece of shit. Win-win.
I think she's very much, I don't think she's doing it because he's cute. I don't think she's doing it because he might be a potential warder. I think she's doing it because she thinks he met with an Aes Sedai and she's trying to figure out why.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But flirting is the strategy that will work best with him.
Right. Because he's a natural flirt.
It would not work on Bukama or Lan, right? Like, he's flirting first. She's matching energy and saying, okay, that's how I'm going to interview you.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I would agree. If she's looking at any of them for a warder, it's Lan. She's not looking at Rhys. She's hoping he's not a dark friend. She's really hoping that it turns out that he fails her tests. But yeah, she's definitely spending time with him because he seems like the easiest one of them to crack as far as getting an insight into who he is. And she's wrong about that, but she's starting with the cute, friendly one.
And I 100% think all of this testing of Lan is testing him for a warder. Like, basically, when she hit him with that wall of water and he didn't get knocked over, she went, oh, what else can he stand up to?
Right, that's like the most platonic, like, hello.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, you can take a tunnel of water and keep standing, you might have what it takes to be my warder. let's see, can you withstand all of these bugs and bites, and can you hold your tongue? And like, I feel like it's just like, this is dating. But we're interviews. This is a job interview, basically. All of these like torments of Lan is a big job interview.
Yeah. But it's also got like some serious elements of like a taming of the shrew kind of thing. Where
Yes.
it's like she doesn't even fully acknowledge what she's doing yet.
100%.
There's this like unconscious attraction that like when it all clicks, it clicks. But yeah, there's a lot of unconscious attraction that's happening. And yeah, it happens to not be romantic, but I don't see why any of the rest of those dynamics don't apply.
Can we call it hazing?
It is kind of hazing, yeah, especially with how we've talked about the White Tower hazes people pretty hard. It would make sense that untested fresh Moraine or unseasoned fresh Moraine would, just replicate that sort of abuse. Yeah, as Dr. Pant says, can you tolerate my abuse? If so, welcome to our relationship. Like, it's cute in like a, 1980s kind of way.
So my wife has me watching some Love Island, so I've absorbed it involuntarily. But the amount of like that level of relationship where it's like, if you can tolerate my abuse, then we can be in a relationship. Like I see that dynamic on there, and it's gross. It's so gross.
That's not it. That's just not it. I'm going to say, as a person who's been married for a long time, that is not it.
Mm-mm. But I feel like that's why I think it's more of a job interview, right? Because it's like, we are going to face this abuse together. Can you stand that? Is this something that you can deal with if we're going to go face this level of like bullshit from the outside world?
Again, perfect replication of how the White Tower approaches this. Your friends need to abuse you so that your mentors can abuse you so that the world can't break you.
Right.
She's just passing that lesson along to the guys she wants to be coworkers with.
Which just comes from that, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger thing that I don't believe in, right? Like,
no, but Lan does. So
yes, Lan
we
does.
see why this works.
Right. And honestly, I think Robert Jordan did as well, right? He sees overcoming adversity as something that makes his character stronger. And it's a fantasy trope. This like, you beat them down, you beat them down, you beat them down. They refuse to take it anymore. They reach a new level of power and rise up with that new level of power.
Yeah, it's a lie and a fantasy trope and a thing that people have been gaslighting themselves with for many, many decades. It makes sense that Robert Jordan believed it at least enough to not question it as he wrote his epic high fantasy series that was meant to help perpetuate the genre of tropes.
Right.
Yeah, here in 2026, I do have some bones to pick with it.
It's one of those things where I've come to feel like at the end, the difference between sci-fi and fantasy is the democratization of power. Right. Like, to me, that's when I look at like, what is the difference between like, because it's a really hazy difference, right? It's really hard to differentiate between sci-fi and fantasy in general. Right. To me, it's fantasy if there's a chosen one who is picked by some arbitrary power. It's fantasy. It's sci-fi if it's democratized technology that anyone can get hold of. You just happen to be the one who's using it best or happen to be the one who's getting a hold of it. That's why Dungeon Crawler Carl, sci-fi.
Yeah, though he is also getting traumatized into having new levels of power, so, that is happening as well.
But that happens a lot in sci-fi.
What doesn't
right? Like,
kill you makes you level up.
Yeah,
is definitely what's happening.
I'm not saying that's exclusive to fantasy, but the this is happening to one very special boy versus, this could be happening to everybody.
Yeah. But yeah, Lady Alice Moraine, she's a very special girl, so she's going to need a very special boy to be her warder.
They talk about Trollocs, and she's like, I faced them, and he's like, where? And she's like, in places you would never dream of, because of course it was in the dream. It was in her testing, which is
I know
in the
that she
world of
says
dreams.
dream, places you would never dream of. I'm like, how does the oaths allow you to say that? Because technically it's a place you would dream of, because it's a dream. But she doesn't know that about the thing, so it's
right.
fine.
I mean, he would never go through because he could never go through those gateway, the testing gateway. So he would never be in that place to dream of, right?
Sure. But yeah, it is a funny choice of words because it's like she's essentially saying in a dream that's only for magic girlies.
Close enough.
But it is kind of cool how the White Tower was able to give her that lived experience before she went out into the world. So she didn't, make a fool of herself the first time she saw a Trolloc. Instead, she could be cool about it.
Yeah, except, like, is that experience any safer than doing it in the real world?
Well, I mean, I'm saying from the White Tower's reputational perspective, to have even their freshest of sisters be like, oh yeah, I fought Trollocs.
Right.
That works well for the mystique of the White Tower.
Whether it's any safer.
I'm just saying, within their own logic, it makes sense. Like, that is one of the things they said they wanted, was to have sisters going out there already able to take care of Trollocs. But yeah, safer? No, absolutely not. Yeah, I don't think a training video PowerPoint presentation on how to fight Trollocs would help.
I've read about it.
Right, yeah, I watched a video.
So we get a bunch of Lan saying, like, I do not believe that Moraine is Aes Sedai, because this is clearly all about me, and she's being sent by Edeyn, whatever her name is, seduce me and fuck with me. This has nothing to do with anything else. This is all about my little internal struggle for power.
Right, because I'm a special boy, and no special girl would ever cross paths with me as just a side character in her quest. That makes no sense. I'm the specialist of boys.
Mm-hmm. I do like the way this book is written as kind of like two main characters who are both going about their like main quests, and they're like, oh, you want to join up and do main quests together?
Well, because they do show up as a unit and stay as a unit for the first, few books of the main series, right? Like they are, Moraine and Lan is like Bane and Chiad, right? Like they are one unit. You don't think of them as anything but one character. And yeah, originally they were two main characters. And then you get a sense of how much Lan and Moraine are the same because, she slips out of this inn to go meet with someone.
Do you think she channeled to do that, or do you think she just is good enough? I don't think she's good enough to slip away from Lan without him noticing.
I bet she's got a sound dampening weave that she was able to lay down so he didn't hear the bench scrape back or whatever. But then, Rhys is like, well, where'd she go? Maybe she went to the bathroom. And Lan's like, oh my God, you don't talk about that. And he says literally one of the lines that Moraine had said in a previous chapter. There were matters one spoke of and matters one did not. It's an internal thought in both cases, but it is the same line. And it's one of those like, oh, these are the same person. That's why they're going to get along well. That's why they're destined to be such good colleagues and teammates, is because they both have very specific ideas about there are things one speaks of and things one does not speak of. They're prim and proper in their own way, prudes in their own way, but it's compatible.
So Lan follows her out and hears her asking about the Saharas, the people she's looking for.
Yeah, Saharas. And I noticed she's talking to a woman wearing wide trousers. Kind of like there was women wearing pants in the world before men decided to be the most special, not like other girls girl that ever not like other girls. 20 years prior, there's a woman just wearing cool pants. And yes, I do believe this is Kandori.
They're not skirts divided for writing? Are you sure?
It says trousers. And these are the kind of pants that Brigida will model after. Right? When Brigida has her Kandori, attitude and when she has her Kandori backstory and all that. She does wear wide pants. And here we are seeing evidence that wide pants are Kandori. But I'm just like, yeah, Min was not necessarily the first woman to ever wear pants.
But they're wide pants. They're more like big, blocky, square things. I think of Min as the first person to wear... I think of Min was wearing like yoga pants.
Yeah, Min was wearing skinny jeans for sure. Whereas, yeah, these are more billowy, but still. It's just, yes, women wearing pants has been a thing. I don't think Min was wearing yoga pants because she did do manual labor. I think she was wearing skinny jeans. Yeah, Elaine was wearing yoga pants when she was doing her acrobatics.
That showed everything. I mean, that pretty much brings us to the end, other than Lan being like speculating about her motivations, but I don't really have much else in that chapter.
Well, he sneaks up behind her thinking he's being super stealthy, and she knows he's there. I would assume because she's put a little ward or a finder or something onto him, so that way she knows where he is in case he's a dark friend sneaking up on her, and it kind of freaks him out a little bit. But, she's paying attention to you, bro. She might like you. She's paying a lot of attention to you. And yeah, that's all that I have got. Oh, she just insults him one more time. If Malkiri keep their word as I've been told, stalks off. She's being annoying. But yeah, that's all I have. And then we're on to chapter 21.
Some tricks of the power, which is this is the torment chapter, right? This is the chapter where they're riding to Chachin, and every night we get a new torment of Lan. I think it's 6 nights on the ride.
Yeah. Also, there's an assassination attempt. That's pretty exciting. We're starting to get hints that Moraine is mostly interested in Lan of the three men. But yeah, this is a short, snappy chapter that has some notorious and exciting moments. And the symbol is the flame.
Lan knew the ride to Chachin would be one he would rather forget, and the journey met his expectations. They rode hard, passing merchants' trains of wagons, never stopping long in a village and sleeping under the stars most nights. Since no one had the coin for inns, not for 4 people with horses, barns and haylofts had to do, when there was a barn or hayloft to be found come nightfall. Many of the hills along the road bore neither village nor farm, only towering oak and leatherleaf, pine and fir, with smaller beech and sorghum scattered through. In the borderlanders, there were no such thing as isolated farms. Sooner or later, a farm set off by itself became a graveyard. Just you're not going to get Emmons Field.
Right.
You're going to get the 2 rivers. You're going to get groups.
Right, yeah. Kind of seeing what Perrin has to pitch to people in book 4, saying if Trollocs are going to be a hazard, we need to reorganize our population and defenses.
You can't put some boys on the roof and they're not going to protect you from the incoming threat, because it doesn't matter if you see it coming if there's only 10 of you and there's 300 Trollocs.
And you can't protect fields that are far out and away and distant. You have to, completely consolidate and plan your defenses and clear the trees and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Perrin has to make that pitch, over the course of 2 days. This is a landscaper that's been true for centuries.
I've seen some interesting farm layouts. Because apparently a lot of what people want to do with their farms is they want to have lots of land, but they want to have their homes close together. And so there's all sorts of interesting layouts where you I saw one, I think it was Dutch. I'm not going to be sure about this, but where it's essentially the farmland is only the width of the house, but it goes back 5 miles.
Oh, I think I've seen these. I think I've seen, from Denmark, or not from the Netherlands, from England.
And then they have all the houses on the same street and stuff like that. So you're all close. The houses are close together, but then you have all this land behind it that's being farmed.
Yeah. I feel like I saw a cool aerial picture from, I want to say England, that was it was like a wheel, and the houses were all in a circle in the middle. And then they had these, increasingly widening wedges going out from the back. So that way, they had a good chunk of property and neighbor stuff. And it was like a wheel shape. Very cool. Much better than having one little farmhouse surrounded by just a bunch of wheat and soy, and you have
be
to drive
miles
for
to the next
10
farmhouse.
miles. Yeah, totally. It makes way more sense than how we do it in the American West.
And that's how I kind of imagine the Malkier is they might have a lot of land around them, but each individual town is pretty well clustered.
Yeah, because they also need walls and palisades and stuff. You have to be able to retreat inside of something, even if your fields get trashed by Trollocs in the last extreme, right? So this is, again, thinking more about European Middle Ages consolidating of forces and stuff. You need walls if you're going to be constantly assaulted by Trollocs or barbarians, either way.
All right, so here's a question. She protects them from the storms, and he thanks her, right, for, basically keeping them dry and keeping the hail off their heads, because it's a big thunderstorm coming out of the light. Her face hardly altered in its smoothness, a very good imitation of an Aes Sedai's serene expression, but something flickered about her eyes, a strange woman, and I wasn't sure what he was talking about there.
She performed the same service for the second storm, and both times she seemed surprised at their offered thanks. I think that's just it. It's just that she's trying to seem cool and chill, but she's also kind of giddy at getting acknowledged and thanked for her use of the power in this mundane way. She's not shock and awing them. She's not winning a conflict. She's just protecting them. And they're like, wow, thanks. That's really handy. And she's kind of puffed up about it. And she's trying to pretend she's not, but he can see it in her eyes. That's how I interpreted that. I didn't read much into it. It seems like a weird thing to be pleased about, but that's how I interpreted it.
I'll buy that. Next, we have them being attacked by about 50 bandits, 25 in the front, 25 in the back.
Right. They've been attacked by small groups of bandits that were easy to shoo off, and now this is a group that's actually prepared to take on all 4 of them.
Are they?
Well, clearly they're not, but I think that the other, bandits that they shoot off are more opportunistic. Oh, there's some people. Let's go see if we can open. Never mind. This force, I think, is intending to take down these 4. They have actually gathered enough people that they feel like it's an assassination mission rather than a crime of opportunity, right? I think the other ones are crimes of opportunity. This one isn't.
And yet Lan is essentially able to intimidate them into running away.
Moraine uses the power to yell at them. That kind of sets him up to succeed with shooing them off.
Oh, and it was thunder. Yeah.
I think it also has a lot to do with the fact that Lan and his horse do not respond to what Moraine does. So it really gives the impression of having these orders.
I read that too fast. I missed a red fire exploded with a roar above the bandit's head. Like she does a little pop, a little firework in the sky to scare him off.
Yeah, she does a flashbang, and then Lan, who they know who he is, says, "You'd better run." And they're like, yeah, no, a flashbang plus Lan counting to 3, we're out of here.
Which just tells you the power of the Lan-Moraine combination, right? Is they can run off 50 people essentially by themselves.
Without even coordinating on it. Both have so much main character energy that they can pull that off.
Now, of course, she's pulling the whole, like, if they'd attacked, I could have killed them all and saved a bunch of lives. And he's like, yeah, no, that would not have gone well for us. Like, even 50 people would have probably overwhelmed even Lan.
To which I say, maybe that means she's a really badass Aes Sedai. Maybe that means that she is so powerful that she's like, 50 is not a big deal. I got this. Like, maybe she's very powerful.
Because at this point, she's what, top 5 most powerful Aes Sedai in the world?
And still not fully at her maxed out power. Yeah. And she's like, 50 would be a little, like, I'd probably, be breathing a little hard by the end of it. But, like, I got this. Which, we saw her Aes Sedai test, right? Like, I have full confidence that she could take down 50 bandits, even if none of them break and run. Especially
since they don't have bows and arrows, right? I think if they were shooting bows and arrows at her, that might be a little hard. Although she did put up a shield of air to stop bows and arrows, which, again, crazy that doesn't happen more often in the series. Right? If she can do it now, fresh out of the tower, like, let's go back to, like, all the other fights she was in when she should just be doing that by default. Anyway.
Yeah, you'd think it would just be the kind of thing that you turn on as soon as you go into battle every time.
Every time. Maybe I just don't go into battle often enough.
Whatever.
But she actually seemed to believe she could have defeated close on 50 men by herself. You know what? I don't think, especially with 4, warriors to clean up anybody who gets past her.
Yeah. Yeah, the ones that would run away, the ones that would surrender, I think that the 4 of them could have taken down 50 bandits and handled the situation just fine. But it would have been quite the distraction, and I think that Moraine is doing a very Elaine-like thing here and being like, but the rule of law matters, and might makes right, and right makes might. And, these guys are like, pragmatically speaking, we just survived a serious robbery attempt with no injury. So, like, let's just take the win and move on. And then we get into the montage of ailments that Moraine visits on Lan. The first night is mud. The second night is being kept awake. The third night is sand somehow getting inside of his clothes and boots.
I hate it. It gets everywhere. By the way, just for this is totally a sidebar on an older episode. Lan was born in 53 and Moraine was born in 56. So they are 3 years different in age. Lan is 3 years older than Moraine.
Nice. Yeah, they truly are the same person, just on different paths. The next night is the ants, the blue Aja weave that brings in all the ants and makes them bite him at the same time. The next night after that, she manages to get him all poisoned oaked out. Blister leaf, but, I'm calling it poison oak. And that's it. That's quite the escalation. That's miserable. He is itchy, tired, blistered.
And I love her thoughts, though, where she's like, the blister leaf made him jump, proving he was made of human flesh, which she had begun to doubt. All right, there's this, like, he has been so stoic and so unresponsive. She's like, is this man even human? Like, he has been able to face, with what feels like superhuman ability, all the things she's throwing at him. And that's perking up her ears a little bit. She's very admiring of that.
She didn't think anyone could put up with her, aside from Swan. And Lan thinks about how he doesn't know what she wants. He has no idea what reaction she's trying to get out of him. He's just trying to endure it. He has no idea what her mind game is. And then we switch to her POV, and all she wanted was a display of remorse for dunking her and an apology.
Oh.
That's all she wants in her mind. She's like, all I want is the obvious thing. this very obvious, you need to feel bad for throwing me in a pond and apologize for it. And he's like, I have no idea what you want from me. It's so funny to me that they are both so arrogant that is their relative reads on this conflict.
All right. And so, sorry, just age-wise, if they're born in 53 and 56 and is currently 978, they would be 22 and 25, respectively.
They're so young. I think of them as so much older. Even now, I'm like, yeah, they're young, but they're not like young. They're young.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're baby young.
She's literally fresh out of college. She's a couple years past that.
I mean, 25 is like finally not a baby anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's wild. That's wild. She's still so fresh. A part of her does admire Lan's fortitude, but only a part, right? There's such a stubborn, again, it's so Taming of the Shrew. There's such a will they, won't they, but it's completely platonic because they're trying to make the other one bend first. It's a staring contest that ends in mutual respect, but it starts out so antagonistic.
Like a wrestling contest that they both like survive. You know, like they're fighting each other. Whatever the contest is, they're fighting each other, and they've hit this almost stalemate that leads to respect.
Everyone else falls away quickly in the competition, and then it's just down to this one other person, and just can't quite figure out how they're still putting up with you.
Next thing I have is them meeting with Mistress Sahara.
Finally. It takes her a while, but she finally gets there.
And she's going to open an inn call it the White Tower because it's based on
because she got the bounty. And it's like, and as she's putting the sign up and Moraine asks a pointed question, she's like, oh, you think the sisters might mind? Nah, it'll be fine. It's like, I think they might mind.
I think they might mind, yeah.
I don't think this is going to go well for your business. You should have called it like the Shining Walls or something. You know, there were other names.
And then there's this line here. He says, by the scale, the tower on the sign would have had to be over 1,000 feet high. So she's putting the tower next to, I think, the inn itself, was my understanding. I'm not really sure what the scale of the tower is being compared to.
I am assuming, because there's not a good description, I'm assuming that it is the same size as like Dragon Mount or something. Right? Like, it's like there's Dragon Mountain in the background, and then there's this giant white tower with this tiny little town at the foot of it that's like, nope, that is not the relative proportions.
So I think the reason this line is in here is because I think Jordan actually saw fan art that portrayed the White Tower as really, really big and was commenting on it. Because he's like, no, that's ridiculous. Like, it is a big tower, but it is not the size of Dragon Mount.
I love the idea that he was addressing ridiculous fan art and was like, I love your enthusiasm, but no.
But no, it's not that big.
No, it's huge. It's impressive. It's not that big.
How tall is the White Tower?
100 spans? I have no idea what a span is. It sounds like a yard to me, but I don't know if that's true.
Let's see.
And if a span is a yard, then that would be 300 feet. Significantly less than 1,000.
The tower structure is a bone white spire, nearly 100 spans, around 600 feet or 183 meters.
Yeah, so significantly under 1,000.
So here he says 1,000 feet. Interesting he uses feet here instead of spans. It's, you know what? It's 600 feet. 600 to 1,000. I mean, yeah, it's 60%. That's an overestimate, but not that much. Like, I don't know. To scale, that doesn't seem crazy to double its height on the sign.
Yeah, in my mind, it's like absurd, like a multiplier of 1,000 too tall. Like in my mind, what
it's 1,000 times too tall.
Here, yeah, in my mind, I'm picturing that something that's just impossibly like a mile high, just absolutely like not happening.
But like she's complaining about 1,000 feet, and it's only 600. It's 600 feet. It's, you know,
a 400-foot difference doesn't seem like the thing to quibble over.
No,
right?
it really doesn't.
It's an in sign. Yeah, I was expecting something more like, oh, it's 10 times the wrong thing, not 400 feet out of
yeah.
Okay.
Not like
whatever.
2x. That's not that
all
absurd.
Right, Moraine.
Yeah, all right, Moraine.
That feels a little inconsistent,
it
but
does.
Whatever.
I just, that line stood out. And I think it might just, but I do think it is Robert Jordan addressing the fandom art. Because if you look at some of those white towers, they are absurdly high. There's like the city, and then there's this like Dragon Mount tower sticking out of the middle of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I've seen this picture mentally. I mean, it's probably in the white book, right? You know?
Right. The big white book about art, yeah.
Yeah. Bawoba.
And as always, it's not the artist's fault. He was given an absurd deadline and was hired not to just do the black and white illustrations. And then in the last minute, they hired him to do a bunch of color paintings when didn't give him time to actually get it right. So don't blame the artist.
Yes, those are rush jobs from the sketches. They were not originally intended to be. That was it. That was a sketch version. All caveats to the artist. Absolutely.
This is where we blame Red Eagle Entertainment. And one of the reasons why we hate Red Eagle Entertainment is for stuff like that.
Red Eagle just needs to fly into the damn sun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this woman does not have a child that's even remotely correct for the search, but she is doing what I think we should see more of people doing, which is changing the family fortunes based on this bounty, right? Starting up an inn and being like, I'm going to be a successful, prosperous business owner and raise my child in a better financial state because of the White Tower. And like my child will be raised knowing that like the reason why everything was nicer after they were born is because the White Tower gave us money, right? Like, that's what is supposed to be happening as like the white noise that hides the real signal of finding the Dragon Reborn.
And then in the next scene, Ta'Veren Rand reaches back through time to save Lan's life.
Rand needs Lan so bad that as an infant across thousands of miles.
Ta'Veren! All right, because this is,
yes,
Lan does the thing that we
beautiful.
see Rand do a couple of times, which is turn at the last minute and get struck by an arrow in the shoulder instead of through the heart, which is where it would have taken him.
And it's not like he does it randomly. He does it because Moraine specifically is pranking him and wants to check if he has a wasp allergy before she stings him with a wasp, because she just wants to irritate him, not kill him. And by doing so, by irritating him instead of wanting to kill him, she saves him from getting one-shotted in this fight. Right, because he would have gotten one-shotted, right? The
100%.
guy was aiming straight for his heart because he knew that Lan was so dangerous, et cetera, et cetera.
And Lan didn't react. There was no blocking of it. It was just coincidence that Moraine asked him the right question at the right time, and he turned. And that's not the only time that happens in this story where a character ducks or moves at just the right time. And
it happens so often because luck is such an integral part of how the plot works in these books. But, Reen looks over at Lan and goes, yeah, that's lucky. The assassin says, damn, I knew you were lucky, but how are you this lucky, right? Lan is Ta'Verenified sometimes.
But then there's another layer on top of that, which is this book is all about lucky men, right? The whole point of all of these deaths and everything and what we'll see later with the in the palace, that all happens because men who can channel have a reputation for being lucky. So to take out the Dragon Reborn, you kill men who have a reputation for being lucky in hopes that you take out the Dragon Reborn in one of his early, like, just figuring out his power before he's really any good. He's just being lucky. And so Lan here being lucky is actually really interesting because it kind of sets him up as a target for the Black Oddjaw.
Right. But, joke's on them. He's not the Dragon Reborn. He's the mentor
Right.
of the Dragon Reborn, the sword mentor of the Dragon Reborn. A man who is in many ways like his stepdad, right? Because of the Moraine and Nynaeve connection, right? He's a very important person to how Rand was able to navigate the end of days. And, he's essentially part of the last gasp of, I was raised better this time, right? Lan is part of that.
She's also kind of his aunt-in-law, right? The whole Elaine.
Also that, yeah. So, but... yeah, Moraine and Lan being a force of nature that helps Rand means that they have to have this moment where Moraine's childishness and prank proneness is a vehicle for the pattern to protect Lan from the fact that people are trying to assassinate him because lots of different reasons, including appearing lucky. It's all very circular. It's like a wheel of time.
Meanwhile, Moraine is coming awful close to breaking a bunch of her oaths in these chapters, right? The whole, like, she's skirting the truth, holding this assassin immobile to be shot with arrows, comes very close to using the power as a weapon.
Yeah, I'm really curious about how the oaths even, would have prevented her from doing that, given how quickly that situation evolved, right?
Well, because it wasn't intention. Yeah, it wasn't her intention to hold him still. If it had been her intention, she couldn't have done it.
Right. So it's just like, yeah, it's distasteful, but like you didn't technically do it according to the way the oaths interpret your brain. Like,
To her mind, it came very near using Saidar as a weapon or making a weapon for men to use in killing. Very near. As in, she did it. And if she had intended to do it, she would have been absolutely shut down by the oaths. I think intention is the only thing that saved her from...
yeah.
Why do you think she shields Lan first?
Because she likes him and wants him for her warder. She doesn't...
Because he's already her warder in her head, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. She's treating him like her warder. She sees him as the most helpful, the most relevant, the most intelligent, the most stoic, all of those things. He's the asset.
Least likely to be a dark friend.
Yeah, he's the asset. She's still not sure if he's a dark friend or not. She still hasn't acknowledged to herself that she wants him for a warder because she's not even sure if he's a dark friend or not. But she hasn't made up her mind yet, and damn it, he will not die until she has cast her judgment.
Right. I'm not done with you yet, Lan.
Exactly.
So then there's that that moment as this guy's Canadrin. He was in chapter 1.
Yeah, I forgot that there was multiple named characters that try to assassinate Lan. I thought it was just the one. I forgot there was 2.
All right, going back to chapter 1. Bukama met him marrying a lance and leading his yellow roan gelding sun lance, followed by a beardless youth named Canadren, who was carefully leading Lan's cat dancer. So, I mean, this is the guy who, brought Lan his horse. This is someone who, was absolutely a servant of Lan and then betrayed him for money.
Just for money. I mean, and one assumes that it's money with dark friendery behind it, but...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Still,
for sure.
His motivation is not being a dark friend. His motivation is money.
For once, yeah. But and that's always what's so hard is is the person assassinating you a dark friend? Being paid by a dark friend? Being compelled by a dark friend? Being bribed? Or not bribed. Are you being blackmailed by a dark friend? Right? Yeah, there's all sorts of reasons that someone not a dark friend might come after you at the behest of a dark friend. Or maybe they just lied to them and told them something that's not true and makes them believe that Lan is a bad guy, right?
Right, totally. Probably not with this guy because he knew Lan. But...
No, we know it was money, yeah. But so often it's not. And then, and by the way, Rhys, of course, was taking him out because he didn't want him to spill any secrets about dark friendery.
Why would he have any coordination with this guy? Not all dark friends know each other. I figured he was just, doing his thing as Lan's friend who has not yet blown his cover as a dark friend.
So I think because there's a moment where he goes, he's dead already. Can he heal that? And I don't know. I guess he probably didn't do anything to make him die faster.
No, I do think it's telling that can you heal that? He sounded interested in seeing whether she could. I think that's an interesting tell, given that we know according to this book, the only motivation that dark friends have is the promise of immortality. So Rhys being interested in, can you bring someone back from the dead? Because I know
that's
a
probably
guy.
a better tell. Yeah.
I know a dark one. I know a dark one. I know a guy who can bring people back from the dead.
I think it would be interesting if Bukama fired a shot to disable and Rhys fired a shot to kill, but they both fired to kill.
Right. Well, because you don't shoot not to kill, Yeah,
it's true. The shooting someone in the leg thing just doesn't realistically ever happen to disable them.
I mean, I saw it in a movie once, so I'm pretty sure it works. But yeah. Yeah, no, when you hit people in the leg and it disables them, it's almost always because a stray bullet ended up doing a good thing for the situation. It's not usually because you specifically intended that. If you're going to pull the trigger, you're supposed to do it to kill, and that's very hard for people to comprehend.
So Moraine thinks it could be this Gorthanis who hired him, which is the person that she thinks it's related to her being a noble, right, over in Kyrian plot. Yeah, but we know it's not. It's dark friend Aes Sedai hiring somebody to take out. Do you think they want to take out Lan or Moraine? What do you think? Who do you think was the target?
Well, that's the thing is he says... some unknown he, should have told me she's Aes Sedai instead of just saying to kill her first. So that does raise the question of, is it kill her first because she can protect Lan, or is it kill her first because she's the real target? ¿Por qué no los dos?
I think Lan's the target.
That's always been my thought too, is that an Aes Sedai is interested in Lan, therefore he's even more important to take off the board.
Although now that I think about it, does Mirren know that that Moraine is looking for these people yet?
She's seen Mirren in
Yeah.
the Borderlands. There was that whole interaction with Cadswain where she was told that she needed to watch Moraine, and that other woman got assigned to die by her hands by being assigned to watch Moraine with her.
Right.
So she knows that Moraine is up here.
Where are they right now? Because they're supposed to be with her, right? What happened to them? Did she run away? I don't remember.
Yeah, she ran away. She slipped out in the night, and she joined up with the 3 men because she was trying to not be found after she slipped away from the Aes Sedai. So they are presumably on their way to Canluam, because that's why Cadswain told them to go with Moraine, because, oh, you're all going together? You're all going together. So presumably Mirren is killing that other Aes Sedai currently. One of these 6 days, that woman is getting killed en route. And the other one, yeah, Mirren Redhill, not Mirren, whatever Lanfear's last name originally was. Mirren Redhill. She is on her way to Canluam. I think she arrives after. No, I think she arrives before. I don't know when she arrives, but she's going to arrive soon and interact with, Prince Brees and his son. And I think that's when she decides that Moraine isn't a coincidence, right? 1 interaction could be a coincidence, but 2 means that she must be a target. I don't think that Moraine is a target for Black Aja assassination.
No, I don't
stuff.
either.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
think
I
that
know
that's
what her
all
true plot is.
targeted at Lan. And then, yeah, Mirren Redhill does decide that she's in the way and tries to kill her, but I don't think she gets that information out to anybody, right? She makes that decision and gets assassinated all within the same day, so the information dies with her.
They're trying to take out Lan because of the whole working with his... Why are they trying to take out Lan? And who's trying to take out... See, this is where I think Rhys was the one who told them to take out Moraine first. And that's why he should have told me instead of you should have told me. But I don't know. I think Rhys is the one.
That would also make sense for why he didn't say that she was Aes Sedai, because Rhys wasn't sure if she was Aes Sedai. He's like, I don't know what's going on with her, but kill her first. And the assassin's like, I would have taken that more seriously if you called her an Aes Sedai. But because the men haven't decided if she's an Aes Sedai or not, Rhys didn't communicate that.
Right.
I think that does fit. I hadn't thought about that before we got to this recording, but I think that you're right. Rhys is already attempting to get Lan killed at this point. Yeah.
And then I think Rhys didn't reveal who he was, so he, right, quote, in quotes, is just an anonymous man that gave this person money.
Right. Rhys is not concerned about being recognized or making sure this guy dies before he says something. He's not worried about it at all. But yeah, it would make sense that Rhys was the one that arranged this, albeit through untraceable means.
Yeah. So, and Lanfear is Mirren Arenale. Arenale. And I guess you maybe instead of Mirren, we could say Mirene, like Asmodine.
Oh no.
Mogadine.
It's Jordan's fault. It's not our fault. It's Jordan's fault.
It's not our fault.
All right. So Moraine loots the body looking for clues, does not find the clues that she wants, although she does learn that the price of her death in Candor is the same as the price of a silk dress in Tarvalin, which is always fun to know how many dresses your life is worth. And then she gets mad at Lan for being stoic as he gets healed and for not asking for healing, and sort of slaps healing on him very aggressively. And it's just, this is Lan and Nynaeve all over.
Totally. No, because he's stoic and he's never going to ask for help.
Never, ever. And she's going to be stubbornly angry at him because she wants to help. She desperately wants to help him. She cares about him. She needs him in fighting shape. And she's mad at him for not asking for the very easy healing that is right at her fingertips. He could meet the wasps in perfect health, is one of her thoughts. It's like, I'm going to heal you up so that I can screw with you.
He did react to the healing, though. He did actually...
He blinked.
Yeah, his arms went wide, he did gasp. Oh,
That's
he
true.
did breathe hard rather than gasp. He didn't even gasp. Yeah. He jerked and breathed hard. Jesus Christ, what a ridiculous man.
Yeah. And she's all ready to be, still wasp him up and stuff. And then she proves that she is still a rich horse girly because he's nice to the horse of the assassin. And she decides that for that, he will be allowed to not get stung by wasps. And I'm like, you're such a horse girly.
And that brings us to Chachin and chapter 22, Keeping Custom.
The symbol is a horse, a very flowy horse.
That's Lan's horse. I mean, that's Mandarp, right? That's Mandarp.
I'm not used to seeing this icon either. I love this book for all the unusual icons. They should have used more of these in the rest of the series.
Right. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, every time this is a Lan icon, basically. Because in all the other chapters, it's Mandarp, which is interesting because it's clearly not Mandarp yet.
Yeah, Mandarp is like not even a twinkle in his horsey dad's eye yet.
Horses, how long do horses live? It's not that long, right?
Like 20 years. So Mandarp is totally not born yet.
Oh, I'm lying. This is the only chapter this is used in. The horse icon.
There's just too many cool icons that were made just for this book. And there's so much boring repetition in the rest of the main series. Come on, people.
Yeah, it's just the title is Warhorse, so it's just his Warhorse. But I could have sworn that was used more often in the rest of the series. But according to Encyclopedia Watt, that's the only chapter that it shows up in.
Well, there's two explanations. Either you're just wrong, or we've completely jumped timelines, and this is clues as to how you're actually the most special boy, and we can have like a whole, interdimensional adventure where we actually write the timeline, because you can't just be wrong. That would be boring.
My brain is not an unreliable piece of meat that might make things up. Absolutely not. No. So this is a disgusting chapter, right?
Oh, yeah. This is a long chapter, and there is a lot of me just going, ew, ew, ew,
Yeah.
ew, ew.
Just absolutely you on the customs, you on the emotional manipulation, you on the things that Lan does.
We do get to see Bulen, which is cool.
Yeah, no, there's a couple of cool references.
There's a couple
for
of
sure.
cool things here, but
definitely.
ew.
Ugh.
All right, so first of all, I think we should headcanon that Cat Dancer is Mandarp's dad.
Okay, yeah, the black, yeah.
I don't see why not. I think that Lan should make it a point of having horses from the same line, so that way there's always, cool looking and sturdy and, all that. I just think we should headcanon that.
Totally fine.
We get one more mention of bugs that Moraine managed to draw to annoy him. Black flies.
And fleas.
I'm guessing those are horse flies and fleas. So she did skip the wasps.
Yeah.
But she did continue on with insects.
Those blue Aja weaves are really coming in handy.
Right. So he drops her off immediately
and
inside
runs.
the city. Like literally gallops away from her. Like, I got you to within a halo effect of legality for the city, so I'm done. We're done. I literally will run away towards my abusive rapist because you are that annoying.
He owed Elise a debt for her healing as well as for her torments, though in honor it was only the first he could repay. Yeah, what does he owe her for the torments? Like a spanking? Or, tormenting her back. And he's like, honorably, I cannot torment her back for the torment she inflicted on me.
Yeah. You could, like, badly darn her socks or something. Like, there's a way to get back at her. It's funny. We've got this other line from Lan here. With Lan's second best coat bloodstained, he was reduced to wearing his third, worn enough to make Bukama seem well-dressed. So even though he's like a hard and stoic warrior dude who doesn't like comforts, he also was raised so fancy and was such a perception of his station that he does have a third best coat to change into.
Oh, no, I mean, Lan is still a noble, right? Like, there's a reason he gave Rand, Cat crosses the courtyard to go face them. He knows how to look good, and he knows what doesn't look good.
Yeah, which I just tend to not appreciate because we meet him in much more his warder woodsman state, and I forget that he actually was a fancy boy to start. He didn't start out as a farm boy, he started out as a prince. Even though he was in exile, blah, 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 he was still raised with the comforts and expectations of appearances that go along with that status. Even though, you're supposed to get scarred and go into battle and whatever, you're also supposed to know which fork to use at dinner.
And again, that's why he and Moraine get along so well, because it's important to her that she has someone who can present himself as not a farmer.
Right. If she needs to go incognito in higher society, he can do that too. So Lan basically says, "Do you know who I am?" at the gate, and that's enough to get him in because people know him. I don't know if Gerard Shaiman ever shows up again. That name didn't ring a bell.
I was just looking him up. No, he does not come up again.
Okay, so just some dude.
Who rode with Lan in the past, right? That's the whole point, is like they rode together, so he recognizes him, he can identify him.
Yeah, and then he immediately gets handed off to the Chatayan of the estate. So he knows, not only do people know him here, not only is he able to just walk in on the strength of his face, he's also being given king treatment. And he's thinking he was swimming in a sea of other people's expectations, which I think is really encapsulates what he's dealing with, is that he's not having any agency for himself. And that's kind of what Moraine offers, is here's a chance for you to choose something of your own. Granted, it's saving the world as my assistant, but still, it's at least not your birthright. It's something you choose.
And you can't go into a palace without having us meet the mistress who runs it, the lady, whatever title she's going to get given. Like, I don't know why Jordan always wants to introduce us to the lady who's in charge of the maids, or in charge of the palace, or in charge of like the housestead, or in the Aiel, it's the women who are in charge of the hold mistresses.
He likes a strong woman being in charge of the household. And also, it's one of the most important characters in a show like, say, Downton Abbey or its predecessor, Upstairs, Downstairs, right? Like, it's an important character if you want to flesh out who surrounds the nobles. The head housekeeper and head butler are really important archetypes to fill with a personality. Like
Master Nori and that group, yeah. Mr. Tarfor, yeah.
Exactly. Jordan likes it because it's a very convenient person to put a lot of exposition on.
And then I have a question about Rain. He went along to see Bukama and Rain's rooms and expresses delight in them to Mistress Romera, not because he expected them to be given anything unsuitable, because it was necessary that he see to his men before himself. Rain wore a sour expression, but surely he had not expected better than this. I don't think he's sour about the room.
Yeah, no, I think he's sour about the failed assassination attempt.
Is that what you think?
I don't think it's the room. I hadn't thought about the assassination attempt being his effort before you pointed it out a few minutes ago, but I've never thought it was the room. I always thought it was something else about how stuff is going down. I just didn't know what, but it's not the room. Reen's got other stuff going on. It's not the room. But now that you've pointed out that he probably arranged that assassination attempt, I assume it's own, because probably he was trying to like keep Lan from getting here, right? And so now his face is sour because he's failed, right? Like Lan has crossed the finish line. The next attempt to divert this trajectory has to be set at a totally different point in the timeline of the events.
Right, because later Lan thinks perhaps it had been the thought of appearing in traveled stained garb in front of the Chatayan and the serving women that had soured him. And I'm like, no, absolutely, it's got to be something with dark friendery.
Yeah, because he is presented as a vain person who cares how he looks, but yeah, I know. How he appears in front of servants when he's actively in the middle of doing dark friendery things. No, it's the dark friendery stuff, not the servants that are making him sour.
Right. And the only dark friendery stuff that's failed is the assassination attempt at this point.
Right. And he's probably thinking about, crap, now I have to figure out a whole new plan and I have to pull it off in way tighter circumstances on a way tighter timeline, et cetera, et cetera. He's sour about having to reshuffle plans to do with assassinating you, dude. So then, yeah, Lan goes through this whole dressing and bathing montage, getting the news about who's in the city from the serving women. It's got a lot of Rand getting the Prince King treatment, but also it's got a lot of Elaine just accepting it, right? Rand is very weirded out by it, whereas Elaine accepts it as her due. Lan is weirded out by it for reasons very different from Rand. Right, Lan is weirded out by it because of the implications, but he knows how to just accept it as like a physical dance that you do because he's experienced it for years.
Because at this point, I feel like this area, who's in charge of this? His lover, right? This woman who he's going to. So they're acknowledging him as her consort, lover, whatever, Lan Mandragoran, the Golden Crane. He doesn't want to be any of that.
A sea of other people's expectations. Oh, you're coming here to pair up with her, to raise the Golden Crane, to take Malkier back. He's like, I am literally here to do none of those things.
And this is where we meet Bulen.
Yeah.
He acquired 2 square-faced serving women and a young, lanky fellow named Bulen to run errands, who gapped at Lan's helmet and breast. And so, yeah, this is Bulen coming full circle.
Yeah, when Bulen says, don't you remember me? I was there. I helped you with your gear. And Leon's like, oh yeah, that really traumatizing weekend when a bunch of stuff happened and my entire life and career trajectory completely changed and my sense of my life's purpose was completely reworked. Yeah, I remember you, random child that was impressed by my armor.
And then, like, he doesn't come back until Towers of Midnight, right? So even though this was written by Jordan, he's really not. This Bulen kid isn't really used until Sanderson comes in and references this.
Sanderson wanted to find someone who was relevant to Lan's past, and there were very few people who were named that were relevant to Lan's past. So, hey, who's a random kid in New Spring that we can pull forward as being of an age to need that father figure role from Lan, et cetera, et cetera. Like, there's really not a lot of names in the existing canon to pick from. So it's find someone Jordan made or make someone up. And for once, he actually made something out of a Jordan character. That's not fair. It's not for once, but you know what I mean.
Yes, he did it many times, but yeah, I mean, Androl.
Exactly. I'm still mad about that. Lan puts on some blood roses for loss and remembrance as his aesthetic and thinks about how he needs to have his meetings with Edeyn be public. He's like, I can't be alone with this woman because she will control everything. And on the page, it's because a man's advantage all goes to his carnaira in private, but there's more to it than that. The way that I read this, he just doesn't want to be alone with her because, you know, all the reasons, not just the custom ones.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It smacks a little bit of the seafolk marriage custom where the public-private thing are reversed, but it's not that. But there's a certain amount of like...
It is that kind of like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And clearly he doesn't mind it when it's Nynaeve, you know? So yeah, she summons him. He refuses. She double summons him. And
does this not sound like Tylan? Come to me, sweetling.
Does.
Come to me now. Like,
ew. There's just might as well sign it pink ribbons.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Like this is the as much as I compare Lan to Rand all the time. This is very Matt-like situation for Lan.
Yeah. Yeah, he's locking himself in his room and ignoring the older woman who wants to assault and manipulate him sexually.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets taken to a group dinner where he can schmooze with people. And the people in question are people who have decided to remember Malkier, right? Men and women who have not remembered Malkier until it became the hot new trendy thing to do. And he has very mixed emotions about that. On the one hand, they haven't held true. On the other hand, the fact that they're coming back to the movement now means something, right? This is the promise that's being held out in front of him for his whole life up until now, is someday you could get these people to come back to Malkier and follow you. And he doesn't want to do it, but he wants to do it. So he's walking into a room full of people who want him to do it.
And we get a little information about this sort of royal family, right? So this royal family is the center of the plot that's going on here.
And only Ethanel is still alive in the present day. She's still alive. She's one of the... Right? She's one of the Borderlander monarchs who does the Rand slapping thing.
Is that the same Ethanella? Yeah.
Yeah, which I really hadn't thought about until this read.
Ethanella's grandson joins Lan on his ride to Tarwin's Gap, Kaisel.
Yeah, so every time that we see Ethanel in, you know, all those scenes where they're getting together to do the pact, to go slap Rand.
Min has a viewing over that she's going to get married.
Right. This is her husband here. Right? She's been widowed since this book. And then, yeah, Tenobia tries to set her up to get married to one of her uncles. And it seems like that's going to happen. Like, I just hadn't noticed that until reading this book in a podcast brain. But it's like, oh, like she's sad about her husband 20 years later and is only just starting to get set up with another guy. This is her husband. This is the man who dies tragically with their son when Lan vanishes from being Lan. You know, like, there's a lot of actual New Spring trauma wrapped up in her story that I just was not thinking about when we were reading her chunks earlier in the show.
No, I completely forgot that she was in New Spring and had any of this relationship. And I mean, and the whole reason this happens, right, is because of she has a lucky kid, right? He fell 50 feet without breaking a bone.
Which is pretty lucky. Pretty gosh darn lucky.
I mean, lucky is one way to say it. Unrealistic is another.
It has happened. But yeah, this is the kind of thing that usually is, oh, you can tell Rand is in the city because kids are falling 50 feet and getting up without a bruise or without a broken bone. This kid has bruises. But yeah, it's like there's a Taviran in town.
Also, interesting note, Encyclopedia Watt, Edeyn's maiden name, Fairheart. Do you know any of the Malkieri's named Fairheart?
Yeah, that dude. That's the black. That's the dark Aja. No, that's a dark friend. That's a dark friend.
Corwin Fairheart, who...
Jane Farstrider.
Jane Farstrider.
Yes. Yeah. Jane Farstrider brought him
Stopped.
to justice. Yeah, stopped him.
And that's how he became a hero, is by bringing that man to justice.
She's a Fairheart?
Yep.
Where is that information? That must be from, like, the companion or something, because that's not here.
Corwin Fairheart's real name is Corwin Gemallan. Gemallan. Edeyn's maiden name is Edwin T. Gemallan Erel. So the Gemallan versus En.
Okay, so yeah, Fairheart was his moniker, not the family name.
Not the family name.
So she's not a Fairheart. But
No.
she is related to that guy because there's a name.
And then the name does have a vowel difference, so maybe not.
Nah, it's the same. It's the same.
But we're gonna headcanon that she's related to a dark friend, and probably is a dark friend.
Oh, I was assuming it wasn't that she was a dark friend, but just that she was from the kind of family who would produce dark friend-minded people. Not necessarily that she was that, but just...
What, you don't think she's a dark friend?
Is she confirmed to be a dark friend? No, I was just thought that she was, like, super ambitious and ended up flying too close to the sun. I never got the impression she was a dark friend.
You're right. I've kind of always assumed she was in on the plot, but no, you're right. They're totally unrelated. My headcanon around Newspring is really bad, is what I'm learning doing this read-through. Is I made a lot of assumptions about Newspring that I'm like, oh, wait, I really need to read this book closer.
Yeah, my impression was always that she just came from an ambitious family full of snakes, and one of them went full dark friend, but that doesn't mean that she was too.
Yeah, I kind of put, weird rapist, dark friend in the same group, but...
Tylan wasn't a dark friend.
Yeah, no, you're right.
In a family full of snakes, you would assume they're all dark friends, but, like, it's actually worse when actually some of them just suck.
But yeah, here, she says, I, Edwin T. Gemallan Erel. So the Gemallan.
Gotcha.
And then here's a quote I wanted to ask you about. So they're all, the Golden Crane, Kendor rides with Malkier. The sound freedom to pull his hands loose, to lift her to their feet. My lady, he said quietly in a tight voice, there is no king of Malkier. The great lords, first of all, have not cast the rods, second of all. When have we heard about the rods before? The rods of Dominion. And obviously weird that he says the great lords when the great lord is the dark one.
Oh, weird. High lords would have made a lot more sense, or the great houses.
Right, something like
But
that.
great
The great
lords
lords
is like...
Yeah, a little too close to saying the great lord, which we all know is like, you hear someone say the great lord, you know they're a dark friend, right? That is only dark friends ever say the great lord.
Yeah.
Like that's like...
It's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It was just a weird sentence, right? And then the rods, what? Like...
I'm guessing it's some sort of Age of Legends anachronistic sense of like how you pass power. Oh, you need to have the rods. Like first it was the 9 rods of Dominion, then it was just the rods of Dominion, then it was just the rods kind of deal. It's like the Stone of Scone or whatever. Except, I guess, more symbolic and less of a literal rock.
And this clearly has to be a way that they elect or decide. The Great Lords have to be people of the Borderlanders who have cast the rods, what I assume is, that's electing.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's like a ballot or something, right? Like, vote yay or nay, cast white or black, some kind of deal. Yeah,
I can't find anything online about it. So I'd love to hear what people's opinions of that are, but if it's related to the 9 rods of Dominion.
I can't imagine what else it would be. And yeah, she says, well, there's 5 people that are relevant for doing that, and 3 of them are here. So I've got a quorum. Deal with it.
Not sure who they would be, but I mean, they must be the Great Lords. She's got 3 of them there. Don't know who those people are.
I'm guessing that they're other men like him who carry the ancestral right to be a Great Lord, but were smuggled out of dying Malkier as children. And so they were able to grow up and live in other lands.
But she says they're in this room. Like, who's in this room? Is it like...
a bunch of people, right? He walks in and lands on men in long coats, wearing the Hidori. Men he knew had not worn it these 10 years or more. Women with hair so cut at the shoulders and higher wore the Kai sign. Like, this is a event. This is a soiree. This is a schmooze fest.
Got it.
All the fancy people are here to witness her doing that fealty thing, right? This is a big piece of theater for her to show everyone, I'm swearing to him we're raising the Golden Crane, and force him to not be able to get out of it. And here he thought that being in public would be safer for him. But instead, she was trying to summon him to a private conversation so she could warn him this is what she was going to do. And that's why she's like, this would have been easier if you'd come to me in private. I wouldn't have had to like hit you with this out of nowhere in public, but there you go. And yeah, she basically says, deal with it. The wheel weaves as the wheel wills, except not the wheel, me. I weave as I will. And then Briss comes over and sort of helps Lan escape the crowd, and they go off to the balcony where all the shit will go down.
Later.
Yeah. It's a private place where no one can see, and he's known to want to go to get away and have a private moment. So it's perfect for assassinating him later. But for now, it's just a great place for Lan to have a quiet moment to talk.
Yeah, I know she's nailed you into a box I know you would never choose for yourself. Yeah, I didn't realize Briss rescued him, drawing off to a long stone-railed walk above a 200-foot drop to the roofs below. Good foreshadowing.
4 times as far as what his son just survived falling, right? His son just had this miraculous fall of 50 feet, and now we're looking at 200. So that's a deadlier environment. Even his little 50-foot bouncy ball child energy is not going to save him if he's held out over this.
Kind of shitty you survive one fall one day only to be dropped off a bigger one the next.
It does suck. That kid has a rough couple of last days.
There's a story about a woman pretending to be Aes Sedai. The woman could channel, but that did her no good. They flogged her squealing. Couldn't find any connection about that. There is a story that Suian describes about Morel finding a woman masquerading as Green Aja and Chachin, but it's not the right location and not the right time. Morel is not a sister yet.
Yeah, I think this is just a thing that happens sometimes because the Aes Sedai are so bad at being out in the world that sometimes women who can channel like think they can get away with it. And unfortunately for all those women, there's a lot of Aes Sedai roaming the wilds right now. And yes, they're looking for the Dragon Reborn. Yes, they're looking to kill each other, but they will make your life miserable if they happen across you in the course of those other missions. And it makes Lan think about how he kind of hopes that Lady Alice wasn't lying because it would suck if she got abused like that. Like, she's kind of in the back of his head.
Right.
She's always there on the corner. He's trying to focus on what's in front of him. But every now and then she kind of creeps in and he wonders how she's doing and what's up with her. And hoping that she's not going to get, flogged by real Aes Sedai. And then he goes to his room and Edeyn is there and we just have a deeply uncomfortable conversation where she's gross and he is on the receiving end of her being gross.
I will say that they also, before he leaves, Briss and him talk about a man who could channel, like rumors about that, which again, I think is just the Black Aja hunting for him.
Agreed.
And then, yeah, the woman tries to get him to marry her daughter.
Yeah. First, she makes gross references to how great his hands are. And then she says, by the way, you should deflower and marry my daughter, which... What?
Since I deflowered you, you should deflower my daughter. We want to pass those skills down through the generations. What?
Yeah, and while you think about that, let's fuck.
Ew. Gross.
Ew! Okay, first of all, you shouldn't be coming on to him at all because that's 6 years in the past and it was rapey as hell. But also, like, after telling him that you want him to marry her virgin daughter, like, no.
Combined with just, like, she clearly has social power over him, right? This, like, having the lock of his hair, having, like, whatever, they don't really spell out exactly what power she has over him, but when she's alone with him, he is no king, right? Like, she gets to tell him what to do in privacy.
Yeah, and there's this moment where he's reflecting on the hair, right? It's the coil of his hair, it's his virginity symbol or whatever. He can recall when she takes him down into this public area and like tells everyone what she's doing and what it symbolizes. And the women had all been amused, making jokes as he sat at her feet to weave it. Like, it's just, the whole thing has so much like weird, it's not like a humiliation ritual unless you look at it as assault, but it's a very weird public thing. There's just so much of what Lan lives in is a gilded cage that is just made of glass, right? Like, he lives in this fishbowl prison where everything he does is known and calculated and factored into stuff. It's very Kyrian in a lot of ways.
He's also a bit of a celebrity, right? Like, he's being watched. Everything he does is being watched and commented on, and like celebrity engagements and marriages and arranged stuff. And like, it's just, everybody has an opinion about his relationships.
And everyone like knew when he lost his virginity, right? Like, how is this different from being an actress, having people counting down into your 18th birthday, right? Like, how is this really that different, right? This is the same kind of like my personal life and maturity is everyone else's speculation and business.
And how much of that is intentional, right? How much of that is Jordan commenting on, you know, let's gender flip it and talk about what happens to women in power and the way they were used and manipulated and sexually abused and controlled by the people around them who society tells them have power over them.
And how much of it is it's cool when men get lucky that way. How much of it is that? How much of it is, it's a gender flip, but it's cool because, you know.
I don't see it that way. In the same way that I don't see Matt's interaction as cool. Because the men are traumatized afterwards, and it's very clearly on the page that the men are not okay with this. And so, as much as even people are like, oh, Matt's thing is written for a joke, it's not.
Yeah, but people still argue about it, and I'm very curious how many people are going to come back to us from these episodes and say, nuh-uh.
Because it's played as a joke by the people around them, but when you look at the response of the people who experience it, they are traumatized. And that is on the page.
But the fandom will argue about it. So I wonder how much RJ knew what he was writing and how much he meant for it to be funny and how much he meant for it to be provocative and how much is people bringing their own interpretations to it.
It's the same thing of like when you have, you know, a villain on page, it doesn't mean the person who's writing the villain has the same opinions as the villain. Matter of fact, because they're the villain, you could say the author is setting them up as a straw man to knock back down again, right? Like, and in the same way, I feel like he's showing us that, yes, other people think this is funny and ridiculous, but it's still not okay.
Yeah. I just sometimes wonder, RJ wrote a lot of things that he didn't realize he was writing, right? He wrote good lesbian relationships that he says aren't lesbian relationships, right? He wrote trauma where he claims, no, that wasn't trauma. So I just wonder what he intended versus what we're interpreting out of it sometimes.
Also, what he intended versus what he said out loud because of the era in which he was writing these books. And whether or not they were meant to be lesbians and whether that was just not something he could say out loud. And so he had to deny it.
Also that.
Same thing with Sanderson. I ignore a lot of the shit he says because, you know what? If it's in the page, I can interpret it. If it's just something you say, I don't understand the context. I don't understand the question you were answering. I don't understand if you're just having a bad day. This stuff didn't go through editing. It didn't go through approval, right? Like, the word of the author is not as important to me as what's on the page because the author can be wrong.
So yeah, the only note I have left for the rest of the chapter is that completely ignoring his desire to talk, completely ignoring his desire to run away, completely ignoring his desire to not marry her daughter. She insists on sleeping with him, and he's like, yeah, I guess we'll do that now. And then the chapter ends.
Smash to black, and I do mean smash.
Yeah, like Hulk smash. Hulk not entertained smash. All right, chapter 23.
Chapter 23, the fourth and final chapter for today.
The Evening Star, and the symbol is Swan's fish.
This is finally a you read in.
Yes, finally. Moraine allowed herself a small smile as Lan's friends galloped after him. If he wanted to be away from her so quickly, then she had made some impression. A deeper one had to wait. So he thought she needed to avoid the rougher parts of Chachin, did he? The way she handled those bandits should have taught him better. Putting him out of her mind, she went in search of exactly those rougher quarters. When she and Swan had been allowed a trip into Tarvalon as accepted, the common rooms Swan liked to visit were always in that sort of area. Their food and wine were cheap, and they were unlikely to be frequented by Aes Sedai, who would surely have disapproved of accepted having a cup of wine in such a place. Besides, Swan said she felt more comfortable in those inns than at the better establishments Moraine would have preferred to eat. Besides, tight-fisted as Swan was, she certainly would have sought out a room at the cheapest inn to be found. Okay, 2 notes. You don't get to start 2 back-to-back sentences with besides, comma. That's just lazy writing and needs better editing. Secondly, I love that Swan prefers dive bars.
Of course she does.
Yeah, like, of course she does. Of course Moraine is like, it doesn't have a white tablecloth, and Swan's like, I need the floor to be sticky.
That's also a class thing, right? Like, from where they come from.
Time.
Yeah.
Big time. Oh, yeah, no, that's not a personal preference thing. That's a class thing for sure. She grew up in and around dive bars, so that's where she's comfortable.
Well, and I love where they finally end up. Moraine's like, oh, this isn't as shitty as I thought it would be. Like, she checks all the shittiest bars first. And, like, she's going to these places where she's getting robbed, and they're trying to rob her. They're trying to, like, kidnap her. They're trying to, like, scam her over and over and over again. And she's like, these are the places that I would expect to find Suian in. And then when Suian actually leads her back to the place where she's staying, it's a perfectly nice, that isn't trying to do any of those things.
Right, because first of all, Swan doesn't actually have that ridiculous of standards. And second of all, she was trying to find a place where she thought Moraine would look for her.
Yeah,
she was splitting the difference between their two preferences in the hopes that that's where Moraine would look.
Right. So they both overestimate each other. So Suwan's staying at a much nicer inn than she normally would, and Moraine's looking at much dirtier inns than Suian would ever stay at.
They're such a silly couple.
Definitely. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about the montage where she's going to all the various, we got some cool inn names, the Ruffled Goose, the Blind Pig, the Silver Penny.
They're good names. Yeah, there's two notable incidents. One where she keeps her horse from getting stolen, which happens multiple times. But there's one written scene of her using, air hobbles in a ward. Basically, put an alarm on her car. She locks her car before she goes into the thing. And then the more interesting incident is when a woman tries to drug her for, unspeakable crimes.
And then she uses compulsion on her.
She uses a blue Aja weave that definitely is one of those chunks that Varen uses to reverse engineer how compulsion works. 100% the blue Aja has one of those pieces in their arsenal. It's just the fear manipulation part. It's almost like what the Ashaman do with creating the anticipation scariness weave.
Sure.
It's manipulating just the fear-based part of the brain rather than all the emotions, but it's enough to convince the woman to drink most of the beverage herself before the spell kind of snaps and she gets her own agency back. But by then she's already ingested enough of the drug that she ends up passing. She roofies herself right in the room. And then everyone who doesn't want to get in on some unspeakable brutality leaves, including Moraine. And it's just did this woman just get gang raped to death because Moraine didn't want to get poisoned? You need to have at least one sentence of guilt about that, Moraine. At least one. There is a justice system, and that was not it. Yeah, she was probably trafficking sex slaves, but you need to feel slightly more torn up about what you just walked away from. Oh my God. That's dark.
She had a sentence. She definitely thought about it. Sometimes justice came from other than laws or swords. Justice.
I disagree about that being justice. There is a better way to handle that than to just be and then I don't know. From a woman who was we could capture these bandits and take them to the nearest magistrate, you'd think she would have done something different here, but whatever. I guess human traffickers deserve no mercy. I don't need to defend this woman not being human trafficked to death.
And throughout this whole incident, Moraine is using channeling constantly, right? She's putting fear into the men to cause them to run away. She's beating a woman on her backside. She's forcing a woman to drink her own poison. And the entire time she's like, well, good thing I don't have to reveal myself as an Aes Sedai. Everybody knows. Every single person she encounters knows there's an Aes Sedai walking through town looking for a woman, blue-eyed Terran, at an inn. Every single person she encounters. She's doing a terrible, terrible job of covering it up. And every time she encounters one of these incidents, she's like, well, at least they didn't figure out I was Aes Sedai. What are you talking about?
Well, she didn't wear her ring and loudly announce she was Aes Sedai, so she's basically invisible.
Just...
I know, she is so 22. She is so 22.
I was trying to figure out the point of this, series of incidents. I was like, what's going on? And then I think, to me, it's literally being she has no idea how to hide being an Aes Sedai. And she's in a rough part of town and just showing off that she's Aes Sedai over and over and over again to these people.
At least a woman who can channel.
Yeah, right. Which everyone assumes is Aes Sedai, because that's just the world we're in, where if you can channel, you're Aes Sedai, right? Even the guy she kills, right? They didn't tell me she was Aes Sedai because she channeled. Yeah.
It's... She thinks she's being subtle because the plebs are too stupid to notice a fancy girl doing magic. Like, come on. Give her a few years on the road, she won't be this ridiculous. But yeah, she is the most 22 a person has ever been.
Another time, a half dozen young men who thought they could ignore her until she sent them leaping and yelping their way down the street under a flurry of air-woven switches. Public street, 6 men. Being beaten by air. No Aes Sedai anywhere around here.
They just ran away from her because she was so stern, and they respected her dress. You know, they really respect you when you get that A-line Empire waist. You know, like that's how they know to leave you alone. That's how they know you mean business.
Yeah. So then she encounters Suian. Next thing I have.
They go to a perfectly respectable hotel.
Remind me again, why is Suian in Chachin? Because they met up earlier. She gave the message about all the women dying.
I think they were going to each go check some more names and meet up again in Chachin. I forget why. We just read this a couple weeks ago.
I know. I do feel like the New Spring book is very much like, and this happened because it had to happen, and it doesn't establish causality as much. Like, it mentions it, but it doesn't really, I don't know why characters are necessarily in the places they're in. But that's probably also my reading skills being pretty poor. Dude, I find I'm struggling with New Spring a lot, just with the descriptions and remembering everything that's happening is what I'm trying to say.
They just agree to meet up in Chachin.
Okay. Just like the next place that they're going to meet.
Yeah, I just read through it, and yeah, they agree to each go check a different name on the way to Chachin and to meet up there. Because they have the Cadswain thing to negotiate around, so that's why they can't go together.
Got it. Okay. Cadswain throwing a spanner in the wrench.
Basically.
A wrench in the spanner. Wait, a spanner in the gear? What is that saying? I don't know.
Stick in the spokes works.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do.
That'll do. Let's see. So Swan is doing good since the trip. What have you learned? A great deal and nothing. She makes the excellent argument. Swan makes the excellent argument that the creator made people to walk or go by boat, not be bounced around by a horse.
Because the creator made boats. And not horses.
I'm personally of the opinion that the creator intended for us to stay on land. Otherwise, he would have given us gills and flippers.
And wings. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like, we're not supposed to go on boats, Swan. Horses are way more natural and logical than boats. Boats are the real enemy. But that's just me. I'm a landlubber. So, yeah, they kind of talk about... Oh, right. And so this is why everything escalates, right? Because Swan has come to find the Lady Ines, who is in the Aes Daishar Palace. And you can't just wander into the palace and ask women about their babies. And so Swan's kind of like, I'm stuck on this one. I don't know how to get in. And Moraine says, well, I got the nobility card, so I guess we can play that.
Right. We're going to go get some dresses and get dressed up and go into the palace, yeah.
Yeah, they'll have the subterfuge where they can go in with the lady and her servant, etc., etc., etc. And that is why Moraine is in the tower to run into Lan and bring the conclusion of the book about the way it does.
We get another lucky young man dying, right? Those are
blacksmith, no less.
Yes.
There's a lot of blacksmiths and blacksmith accoutrement being mentioned in this book, even though it's never relevant to the plot. Random blacksmiths. There's the blacksmith's anvil in one of the Aes Sedai's rooms before. There's this guy. I feel like there was one somewhere else. All totally incidental, but I'm like, Perrin, is that you? Perrin, is that you? Every time.
I mean, do the Dark Friends have the Dark Prophecy about the fallen blacksmith?
Maybe they do.
Maybe they're relating that to the Dragon Reborn somehow? I don't know.
Or this guy just got taken up by local Pinkertons and it has nothing to do with the Black Aja, because apparently in the last month he had started to organize a union. And then he died. So maybe it was just a labor dispute. Maybe it has nothing to do with Dark Friends.
Oh no, he got lucky, right? This is the whole thing. Like, he was being very lucky.
Yeah.
Right. The hot news: the young blacksmith who was very lucky died a couple of nights ago.
And he was killed in a pretty nakedly obvious assassination because he was carrying a fuck ton of money with him at the time, but it was all still with his body. So it's like the Dark Friends are getting lazier / more bold, not trying to cover their tracks as much. Yeah, that's kind of all I got.
Yeah, it's just basically, it's time to go visit Lady Innes in the palace because she has seen dawn over Dragonmount, so she's closer than anybody else.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just read us out.
Yeah.
They shared a long look, then Moraine shook her head. I cannot see how to tie that to Mylan or Tamra. A blacksmith? Swan, we can go mad from thinking we see Black Sisters everywhere. We can die from thinking they aren't there, Swan replied. Well, maybe we can be Silverpike in the nets instead of grunters. Just remember, Silverpike go to the fish market too. What do you have in mind about this Lady Innes? Moraine told her. Swan did not like it, and this time it took most of the night to make her see sense. In truth, Moraine almost wished Swan would talk her into trying something else. But Lady Innes had seen dawn over Dragonmount. At least Ethanel's Aes Sedai advisor was with her in the south.
Which we don't know if that's the one that she gets in the regular series or if that's a new one or an old one.
Right, I believe it's an old one because when we're in her POV, I believe she thinks about how they've known each other for a long time and they are really familiar with each other's ways. They have like a friendship and stuff. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be the same one.
Niah, Nianh, is her current one in, modern Wheel of Time.
Yeah, I don't remember the name. I just pretty sure I remember her thinking about her Aes Sedai advisor and how they've been together for a long time and know each other really well and are friendly and know each other's expressions and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I really didn't appreciate how much Ethanel was in this book and in the other books. Like, it just didn't quite register.
Yeah, I didn't really make the connection between them being the same person. That you got this young woman here who's a new mother to this sort of grandmotherly figure, which makes sense 20 years later.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Please rate and review us on your podcast app, and consider supporting us on Patreon for ad-free episodes. What Spoilers is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.